All right, well, this is a Reels Coaster Vault. This might be like, what, 2 or 3? I'm not sure. Not many of these are going to ever be made. I apologize. Had bigger plans. And you'll have to bear with me. I am battling a chest-cooled voice, or vice, depending on part of the country you're from, but voice, maybe lower. And I might be coughing, which I'll try to remove in post-processing. Anyways, we're going to look at Talon. Yes, the Talon, Dorney Park. How it started. Frenzy was working on one. I believe when I announced mine, he said, hey, I got one going on. Take a look. I loved everything he had done with it. How much he had. The track needed a lot of work. By this point in time, I had developed a lot of techniques to take track work like this to the next level. What he had in mind, just I told him, hey, I'll let me do that. I'll help with some other stuff, but for the work you're going to do, you want to make this as good as we can. I already had some work done, but bring the track info here. There it is, Frenzy. I've been working on a lot of this. Like he had all this set up. But get right to it. I exported this from 3D Max. Put it into all the files that I felt I needed it in. We had access to blueprints of both the footers, supports, and the ride itself. Made it very easy to plot everything. Made this coaster a good candidate. The first thing I did in any recreation is lift hill angle, try to figure out the radius here. But if you get the lift hill angles, it's kind of backwards. You can just go back and figure out what this is. You know that these stations are flat. They don't need to be angled. They run on drive tires anyways. But, I lay it all out flat, or as far as I feel like going. 2, and boom, super smooth. You'll notice basically all I did was I just clicked on each node using page down and just drug them down, just to create something that resembled a drop. And then there, so this is literally the first time smoothing it. You'll see, boom, there's just bumps everywhere. Banking's off, but it doesn't matter at this point. All of these, this whole process is basically refinement, and you'll see that theme. You'll see it just change there. Move that node out a little bit there. Again, and now we have the start of the loop. I'm not going to go through all the files because you'll see they go from 1 to 147. 148 is just a copy of that. But here you'll see my process for using and running it through either the Purgatorium or the Heartline generator was to pull it out as its own element. I'm sure probably other people did this. This is can't be a new technique. Was 2005, if anyone knows, around August of 05. If that's new or not, it doesn't really matter. You can see I got chunks of work done in days. 8:19, started at 7:14, worked till 9:07, and we ended up here. And this is a file I would throw through the Heartline generator, cut it off. In fact, there you go. There's your filter colors. Because I can almost guarantee you this next one's probably got low filter. Yep. Very, very low filter because we're trying to maintain the integrity of that particular node. And you see the red start to come in. I used the low filter here to start. That's some behind the scenes stuff right there. So then we go to Next day, still working on it. We go from there to there. Now I'll try to pull back here somewhere in the 40s. There we go. Here's your hand done. You know, just a flat piece again, because I'd probably run this through Buster's tool just to make sure that it's working right, working how I want. See a little change. Added that, and then 42 is the file that went through the generator, and you'll be able to see back here. Purpose of this was I needed that, even though with control on I needed it to stay at 0. This one also is 0, and then to start there gives you the smoothest entry off. The 21st didn't really see a whole lot. Well, I lied. It actually added the helix. Again, this is the Heartline generated version. One of the things you didn't see was this particular line going down here across. It actually, I had the loop off a little bit, and it started to trail off to the right or down. And then, you know, that was one of the things that got straightened out over several variations. 56, so we've gone ahead. That looks awful. Let's look at 57. Yikes, that just looks bad. Honestly, don't know what to say other than I think this was, yeah, so realized this was way off. And there we go. See, so then I several files later said, you know what, that didn't work. Start over from where I had a file that works. This, no clue what's going on there. So we'll go to 70, and we go back and we go, all right. So you'll notice the shape of the wing over. It looks much better in here. There it is. Looks much better. Tied to the track. You know, it would even work right now, but it's not the right shape. We're almost designing on the Heartline and then pulling the track back. So that was all started on the 3rd, probably Labor Day or the day after. By the end of it, much work had been done, and we can see basically almost a finished copy. Now, some of you might remember that, you know, needed to go in here, and we were looking to get the length 3110. Currently, 3148. Pretty close. I'd say 38 feet on the length of an entire ride. That's about 11-12%. So not a huge change needs to be done, and usually I accomplish that with Purgatorium. I could increase or decrease an entire track by very small percentages, and it would wildly adjust the track length as it should. So this is track 100, and we'll skip up a few. Let's go actually from here at 6. No, not there. Not there at all. The last one in that day. And if we check the statistics, we are off by 8 hundredths of a foot. And that was, for whatever reason, that was where I was done with it in September. I didn't pick it back up till March of the next year. We start up, and we have rectified that problem with an exact 3,110, which, you know, who knows if it's even down to that minute of a number in real life, but they really don't care. Feet is going to be your lowest one. So I'll show probably, see, I'll open up one every 10. Actually, look, we're even later on. I decided, no, there something wasn't right. Probably banking. I mean, I spent forever tweaking the banking and learned very much, learned a lot about Buster's auto heartline and just how it worked in every situation I could run it through. One of the things I know that changed is this over here. Prior versions was a little flatter and needed that heartline to arc up and down. We eventually added in the spine using the construction kit and 3D Max, and then the final-ish here. And I split the pieces up. This was to help with frames. It helped very, very much because it wouldn't render ones that weren't in the scene when it's in the scene and it's always being shown. Even if it's, one small part is in the screen, it's rendering everything behind, which is just silly. No reason to do that. Waste all kinds of processing power. But let's go ahead. We'll take a look at it here. And here we go in the ride. I like to get my my pseudo POV look here first and foremost, and give you guys just a nice run through. Well, here, I know many of you hail from the United States, where we like to be different, and that's fine. Hilarious now. What computer can do right now as opposed to when this ride was made. All right, there we go. Let's see, make sure we're nice and centered. And I will not talk until the ride is done. And that's Talon. I'll give you guys a little bit more here because I know that probably wouldn't suffice. Skip to the next train, and we will do the view that I most loved to use, at least just to check shaping. Here, look at it, and you could really tell what was going on with your banking and your track shaping. Yes, we did not finish the car files. Wing over might be one of my most favorites I've ever done, because this one was a little bit trickier. The entrance to it, highly banked turn. It's actually slightly overbanked at its peak, and then you have to kind of all in one motion unbank to enter it, whip over the top, unbank, and then rebank in the same direction. Provides an interesting dynamic. It was one of my favorite parts of the ride when I was actually at the park. So, why not? Why not incorporate it and make sure that it's done well? You can see there in the background, I have a support with full 3D connectors going to be built. Always felt that Helix was pulling about half a G more than it should. No clue why it came out like that, other than obviously the radius calls for it and the speed. No clue where I would have gone to fix that. You'll also notice that, I believe I somehow didn't save the file with all of the polygons. But that is kind of an idea of what it would have looked like. Back then, computing processing power wasn't nearly what it is today, so was relying more on textures than anything. Figured it was the best way to go about it. And we are recording at 60 frames a second, and I'm still holding 100 frames. I love 8 years worth of computing power. And you'll see here, same thing. Spline wasn't done. There's even a piece of it poking through on that side. And over here, areas of extreme rotation did this. Construction kit had a hard time matching it up perfectly. It was close enough, it just required a lot of extra attention. We had things sort of going. But overall, never finished. And I'll give you guys a tracking view, and then we'll be done. And that's Talon. Hope you guys enjoyed. Might be one, maybe two of these to go. Hopefully NL2 is out in a week or two. That's my hope. A lot of these techniques that I use here will be buried with that back in time, and onto bigger and better things. Anyone that's even remotely annoyed by it needs to recheck priorities here. It's not really about how long it takes. It's the end product. How you get there, short of cheating, really shouldn't matter. If someone develops something new, that's great, not only for them but for anyone else that can cash in on that. So I'm looking forward to it. We'll do a couple more just to give you guys a little laugh, a little a little glimpse into the past, so to speak. Now, so all right, okay, bye.